Do you think that starting a startup is all about an innovative idea and overnight success? Well, think again. In this video, we'll strip away all the glam that comes from a thinking of starting a startup, and I will tell you what exactly it takes to build a business from scratch. In this video, we will not be speaking about the highs of entrepreneurship life, but we will be driving into the deeps and grits of how to build a startup and what it takes. If you're ready to see beyond the startup glamour and actually see what it takes to build a company, you're in the right place. The brutal truth is that building a startup is not a smooth ride. It's actually full of challenges and things that will be difficult for you to start and keep on going with. Welcome back, friends. My name is Klim. I'm a CEO who shares evidence-based approaches to live a more productive, more fulfilling, and better life in general, where I talk also about coding, entrepreneurship, AI, and economics in general. So do you know that 9 out of 10 startups fail? Yeah, that's right. 90% of startups gonna fail within a year. This is a staggering statistics that tells you how exactly it's hard to start a startup. The common misconception is that people think that starting a startup is all about innovative idea and overnight success. But to be honest, the truth is that it takes a lot of time, effort, and innovation in general. So if you think about the world of startups, people who has been successful actually spend around 4 to 7 years in order to exit a business, and some of them even go to 11 years. The infamous Y Combinator, who is leading the growth of startups and who is growing the startups, have been unprofitable for around 10 years and has just seen the profits first time in 2020, 2021, when the big companies went to IPOs. So they've been sitting on the same bench for up to 11 or even maybe more years, sitting without profits because they have been building the startups called Y Combinator. There are insane challenges when it comes to building a startup. It might look like an easy way to, okay, let's come with the friends and we have this amazing idea and let's just get on with it. You see these videos and movies of founders being in Stanford, dropping out with the friends, just doing their thing and then being successful. But the truth is, startups come with a lot of issues that needs to be solved. The challenges can be the funding issues, the staffing problems, and also in general market reach problems, which is the biggest thing for company to actually sell some of the products to the customer. Let's go a little bit more into the details of these things. So for example, the funding issue. Right now, as you know, there is a huge problem with funding in general, and a lot of people are doing the bootstrapping way because that's have been the norm. Before it was the indie hacking because it was new, it was something fresh because people didn't go to VCs to raise money. Now, instead of that, bootstrapping is normal. It's really hard to get money for your company if you are not a sexy startup, you know. And now we're talking that no matter what you do, except some industries like AI right now, you are not as sexy. A startup is hard, difficult, and it requires sacrifices. So funding, as well as just finding investors, is hard. But the thing is, to be honest, the way to grow your business is not strictly just going for 1 billion evaluation to become a unicorn. You can do other things. For example, bootstrapping, like I said, is a great way. What does bootstrapping entail? That's the way where you don't raise any money, use your own funding, your like pocket money and maybe your friend's money, and that's it. You start to grow the revenue from zero to some place and you start to reinvest. So instead of relying on VC pulling like a 1 million or like 10 million into your business, instead you put all the money you earn into the business yourself and grow like that organically. It's a difficult thing. It's not a booming way to grow your business, but it's more reliable and, to be honest, more relaxing. The second thing is time management as well as stress. Founders and the early employees are juggling multiple roles. They're doing everything they can on a team in order for the company to grow. It's not easy to grow a startup when you're actually struggling with making your ends meet, as well as trying to do marketing, sales, finance, and everything else in the same time. And maybe you're a programmer as well. It's a hard way to build a startup. Like really thinking about the startup industry, you are not gonna be able to make it if you're a founder who doesn't do anything or doesn't do everything at the same time. As you can see, and as you probably notice, it's stressful. And just speaking about this, it actually makes me more stressful because I have grown around 10 startups already, and it has been super stressful every single time. And you know, even up to 20 employees, you're doing most of the things, and you're so deep into every operation that is happening. So as you can see, maybe people are doing 60 hours per week working, and they're saying, okay, I work so much, I need to relax and everything. But startups is not like that. In a startup, working 60 hours a week is a blessing. I'm telling you, 60 hours is nothing compared to the usual time that startup founders do. On average, founders spend around 12 to 14 hours on working on their startups per day. As you can count, it's a lot more than 60 hours, and that's just the average. Some people go even crazier. So when people say, okay, let's start a startup, let's live the easy life. To be honest, it's not easy if you're not planning on scamming your founders and your other investors. Another thing, the third problem, like the biggest one, is the risks. Starting a startup and starting an entrepreneurship of any kind is hard and it's risky. You're basically putting your time on the line and money on the line and the future of everyone who is dependent on you on the line. So as you can see, if you, for example, has had some success of 10 and you hire 10 employees, if you're firing them because your company and startup went bankrupt, you're basically making them be less successful, and the people relied on you, you have failed them, which is risky. And it's very hard to understand and take this into yourself to understand that this is what you want to have. Just to go more further into the problems of mental health for the founders and for startup, around 72% of founders actually have some type of mental disorder and mental illness because of the amount of stress and issues that come with that. In general, the high stress and high pace environment of startup lead to a lot of burnout and just a lot of toll on memory and on happiness of the founders and the company and the people who are in a startup. So it's actually very detrimental, not only when you work, but also in the future after you finish building your startup. And the roller coaster of emotions that come with founding your startup and working. Can you imagine one time you come into the office, your team is exhausted, they haven't slept all night, and that's because of the server who dropped down, or maybe some issue has happened with the payment system. Everyone is just sad, maybe you're losing money, and the next day you come into the work, suddenly you got 100 clients and everything is great. You're on pace to make a record sale this year and it's amazing. But at the same time, these ups and downs really take the stress on you because it's an emotion roller coaster that you don't really control, and it's hard. So let's state the myths, right? Let's break them down. So the myth is starting a startup is an easy way, sure thing to get to the riches and be super happy and rich. Well, as you can probably see, and if you really think about it, it's not like that. It's the same thing as Instagram stories. You know, you watch them, you see them, you think that, okay, this person is living the best life, but it's just the highlight feed of their life. It's not actually their everyday single second life, which you see in the Instagram and in their stories. The truth involves hard work, grittiness, determination, organization, and just in general working really hard to imagine and do the thing that you want. And you know, minding the product market fit is incredibly hard. You might think you have the best product, and maybe it is, but finding the market, talking to these clients, selling them, and especially scaling is super hard. It actually seems such an easy job. What do you mean it's hard? Just go, find this client, talk to him, sell to him, go next. But in reality, it doesn't work like that. Many founders are struggling with doing sales, with reaching their customers, spending a lot of money on useless things, and procrastination. Because we are not really taught how to make a startup, how to make a business. We are not taught. We don't know how to do it. We all learn from scratch. And that's why the people who have failed on startups 2 or 3 times actually have a higher chance than 1 out of 10 to make a successful startup. That's in the future where I will talk why that's the case, but for now I think that's it. So if you like this video, subscribe and write it in the comments if you have started startup or thought about it, because it's super important to understand that it's not all good things about starting a startup. Yeah, there are great things. I love it. I love the ups and downs. I love the roller coaster. I love the exponential growth. I like the possibility of growing infinitely. I like talking to people who are in this industry, and I want to be on edge. But that doesn't mean it's all good. When people tell that it's all great, it's not. There are challenges. You have to be expecting them. Otherwise, you might just ruin your life. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you don't want to be stressed out all the time and working in your sleep and in the mornings 2 o'clock because it's Chinese time or it's some other time. So yeah, I mean, just make sure that you know all ups and downs when you consider your career and your path and starting a startup, because that's what matters. You should be researching and thinking about your life before you look at the glamour of startup life. So yeah, subscribe and come learn more. I will talk about a lot of this, and there's a series coming up about being a CEO. And also, if you like this video, maybe you should watch this video about how coding is not really for everyone.